Um, Hello, we're continuing talking about Chapter 2 of Barbara Ehrenreich's Nickel and Dimed. In my last video, we were talking about scrubbing in Maine, and we're going to continue on the same topic. In my last video, we talked about the type of literature that Ehrenreich found in the homes of the members of the bourgeoisie, upper middle class. We also talked about how one employee named Holly has to work through the nausea of being pregnant, right? And what effect that might have on her child, the chemicals that she faces when she's working. We also talked about how low-class workers look down upon maids, and we talked about how the upper middle class puts cameras in the houses to try to catch the maids stealing so that they can atone for their own guilt and having wage slaves working for them, of having that kind of relationship with other human beings. In this video, again, we're going to continue talking about Barbara's experience. Barbara talks about, and let's start off by talking about Barbara on page 103. She attempts to seek assistance. She's not making it. Even with her 2 jobs, she still really is not surviving. She's not making enough money to support herself. So she attempts to seek some assistance in obtaining food or money from a charity organization. Well, her result ends up being that she gains $7.02 worth of food as a result of 70 minutes of calling and driving. Minus, of course, the fact that she has to spend $2.80 just for phone calls. So she ends up making a wage of $3.63 an hour by making these phone calls in order to get food for herself from a charity. And the food, of course, is junk food anyway. It's not even food that a person would want to eat. Somebody with a PhD in molecular biology like Barbara Ehrenreich certainly knows how unhealthy the food is that she'd be eating. You know, all of the aspartame and the cyanide and the high fructose corn syrup, right? All these different wonderful absurdities that are now part of our food supply. But of course, you know, aspartame's good for your health, just like sodium fluoride is, right? Just shut up and believe whatever you're told by the people that run the society. Of course, Barbara's not talking about sodium fluoride in this book. I'm just adding that point. Now, shifting to Barbara's experience at the nursing home, right, caring for the Alzheimer's patients, she cites a statistic on page 105 that nursing homes are dangerously understaffed, especially profit-making nursing homes like the one at which I worked. And I have a question for the viewers here, and I think this is the question that Barbara kind of raises a little bit in the text. I mean, should nursing homes, right, be for profit, or should they exist to serve the public good? Right? I mean, should we have nursing homes? Well, yes, people that are working there make a living wage, but they're not designed to make profit for some corporate entity who already had enough money to invest in the nursing home industry so that they had the ability to make a profit, a huge profit. They don't do any of the work. They just had the money already that they can use to make more money. And that's the way it works in America. Money makes money. If you start out with a lot of money, you're going to make a lot of money. Just the way it works. If I had a lot of money, I'm pretty convinced I could make a lot of money with the money I would have. Pretty convinced of that. I played the stock market game before. I performed really well. So of course it was only a game. It was $100,000 of fake money, but I still invested really well that money. So I just didn't listen to anybody on TV. You know, if you listen to Kramer, right, Jim Kramer, you know, you're bound to make bad choices, because if Jim Kramer was all that bright, he wouldn't have a show. He'd be investing the money himself, and he'd get rid of, you know, working for the street, whatever it is, right? But anyway, again on page 107, Barbara talks about temptation, right? These homeowners tempting the cleaners with money left out in the open. These homeowners want to get the cleaners into trouble. And again, it's about dealing with their guilty conscience as a result of employing these wage slaves. Page 111, Barbara continues talking about Holly, right? How she stoically continues working even though she has ankle damage, maybe even a break, but definitely a strain, which occurred when she fell on the job. On page 116, she talks about this psychological relationship that occurs between the maids and Ted, who's kind of like their boss. All these maids, these women, desire Ted's approval, right? Ted being again their boss. And of course in 117, Barbara notes how Ted has a really nice house, but Ted's playing up sexual issues between himself and these women. He knows how he can get these women to do things for him. And for all we know, Ted maybe does get the women to do something for him sexually. I don't know. I don't know about Ted's sex life, but be that as it may, he has a really nice house, and he gets the maids to have this sadistic relationship toward him, right? You know, beat me again, Ted, kind of view. Send me out in this work team to get exploited. Now my wage labor exploited, right? Anyway, I digress. Page 117, Barbara says, writes, and I quote, "Janitors, cleaning ladies, ditch diggers, changers of adult diapers, these are the untouchables of a supposedly caste-free and democratic society." What profound quote is that? It's so very true in America. Page 118, Barbara notes that the poor have disappeared from the culture at large, from its political rhetoric and intellectual endeavors, as well as from its daily entertainment. And of course, that's also true. At least I sense it to be true. What do you think? Maybe you can comment. Right. What do you think? Debate me on that point. I think media is much more concerned about, at least if we're talking about conservative media, right? God is great, homosexuality is evil, the gays are going to destroy the world, and God loves you, but you're going to go to hell if you don't have faith in Jesus Christ, right? That's what they're concerned about. Barbara reveals her identity eventually at the end of the chapter. At the end of her experience working in Maine, she reveals her identity, and she asks the employees. She says, and I quote, "How do they feel? Not about Ted, but about the owners, who have so much, while others like themselves barely get by." And the answers, at least the answer that 24-year-old Lori gives, one of the workers, is, "Wow, I'd like to have this stuff someday," right? The stuff that all of her employers own, right? "It motivates me, and I don't feel the slightest resentment because, it's my goal to get where they are." And again, this is the absurdity of the American dream, the absurdity of believing that we don't live in a class-based society, of believing that if you just work hard, you're gonna strike it rich, right? Of course, if you act corruptly, you might be able to get rich. If you use a high IQ in order to be exploitive, maybe you'll get rich. Most likely, you're going to get caught and thrown in jail because only the top people don't get caught. But maybe if you're willing to corrupt, if you're willing to engage corruptly, maybe you'll make it. But otherwise, you won't. Right? Lori is following an American illusion, as are many Americans. Right? The American dream, it's just a dream, as George Carlin says, because you got to be asleep to believe it. And I would also add, and I note, to finish off this chapter, it's so unjust to me to imagine people making $7.50 an hour when the homes that they're cleaning, they're being charged $25 an hour, right? The company management is probably making millions of dollars, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And I keep thinking of Marx saying, proletarians of the world unite, right? But see, many of the members of the working class, they're too concerned about someday becoming wealthy themselves. They think that they're going to someday be in the position that the wealthy class is. They think that someday they're going to strike it rich, they're going to work hard and someday gain that kind of wealth. You're not. It's not going to happen. Be Willy Loman if you like. Not going to happen. It's a lie. It's a deception. Well, in the next video, we're going to talk about Chapter 3, Barbara's experience of selling in Minnesota. Thank you for watching.